Fern, my girl, you gotta watch out for this method. She gonna steal away your Stark. Mommy Method's in the house, and she's getting glances from Stark. Now, granted, yes, he's watching her form and going, oh, yeah, definitely could be dual wielding. But, I mean, I don't know. He could be checking her out. Like later on, them just doing the whole like practicing together and just happen to bump into each other's butts. I'm like, gosh dang, they're setting up something here. They're setting something up here. It's actually funny because that's not really the thing. Like, as much as I want to joke about Stark being swooped up by this mommy Method is after Frieren, and Fern is more upset about that. Like you could have Stark over here like glancing at Method all the time, and Fern will probably say you're a pervert. I'm sure we're probably gonna have that joke play out some point. You know, Stark's gonna be helping out Method, and then Fern will be over here going pervert, hentai or whatever. But it's mostly just Fern being upset about how Method is like just geeking out and drooling over Frieren. That's the thing that's bothering her the most. Stay away from my Frieren. Just like when they were doing the whole exams, that whole sequence there, like stay away from her. Stay away from her. It's so dorky. But anyways, episode 34 of Frieren. Really, really, really awesome episode. It was a heavy episode overall. Like, just getting through this episode felt like, oh, it's heavy. Now, it's interesting because this isn't the first time that we've seen the aftermath or some sort of destruction or the destruction in process of the demons. They're heartless. They're disgusting. They just destroy. That's all they do, and they just trick and they destroy. And I love how they have that, again, emphasized at the beginning of the episode. You know, telling Gano, oh, I have a child, and it's very young. Please don't. And he's like, I've heard that so many damn times. And then going in there and going, where are they at? Oh, yeah, like usual. Lying like usual, just trying to trick humans into believing that they actually have family and they have some semblance of family, something they just kind of essentially adopted from humankind because they know that's going to manipulate you. If I say this thing, if I bark this thing, it will make them stop attacking. It works. Do it. But yeah, re-emphasizing that whole aspect there and just seeing how much destruction they created. Oh, he's begging for his life, but the entire village is dead. And Gano's friend over here is literally bleeding out. His stomach is cut open. He's rotting out alive. It's like, this is, again, the sheer heartlessness and destruction of the demon kind. And again, we've seen like Frieren, you know, the aftermath of her village being destroyed, the aftermath of Stark being destroyed, his brother going off and all that kind of stuff, you know, seeing all these little moments here. But this is the first time I think where the entire episode is just sitting in. That's the thing, is just sitting in it. Sitting in a place that was once thriving with people and seeing them all just, again, laying dead inside the church and really kind of contemplating it. The question mark for me, it really is going through this episode, is really the mind state of Gano. That's really the kind of question mark that I have right now, because the setup of this episode is the idea that Method and Gano were sent by Siri in order to take out the demons. And it seems like when they arrived, Gano comes in there, again, finds this one demon, takes him out. It seems like there was several other ones like this one in the village, but all these particular demons are all very weak. So the moment they get there, everything's destroyed, but all that remains is these demons that are extremely, extremely weak. But it seems like the moment that he comes there, he's like, okay, yeah, I used to live here. I didn't really expect that I would be coming to my hometown to defeat these demons, but here I am. And while I'm not attached to this village, like I don't have an attachment to them, he doesn't really seem to care about them, there's a sadness there. He finds it sad that he sees his, hometown in the state. So there is an element here where this is impacting him. It's emotionally impacting him, but it seems like, and here's the mixed messaging I'm getting, it seems like one of two things here. One is that he doesn't want to admit that this hurts him. He doesn't want to admit that he's heartbroken by this and that he misses his town, something that he may have discarded and pushed away, or may potentially, in his own mind, kind of been skewed by magic itself, because they have implied before that, yeah, particularly the first class mages are an odd bunch. They imply this several times during the exams that these are odd bunch, and we've seen quite a bit of Gano, hanging out with Synths as they were kind of observing the entire exam from a distance, and it implied these are very odd individuals. And so there is a sense here that he could be trying to distance himself from the village, but it could also be the idea that it's warped his mind. The magic and the desire for magic has sort of warped his mind. Towards the later part of the episode, Method mentioned the idea, or at least was talking about Gano specifically, and it cuts to a little brief flashback where Gano says, "Don't end up like me." Again, implying this idea that the pursuit of magic, or at least the first class themselves, have pursued something that has sort of skewed their mind quite a bit. So again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm curious what Gano's thing's going to be. If it's going to be simply that he pursued magic so much that it made him heartless and discard humanity, and that's why he is in the state that he is and how he looks at things around him, or is it the fact that he's just, denying that he ever cared about anything? I think it might be more that first one, really, because as we see, when he does find his friend, I'm going to say friend, it does look like he kind of had a bond there. It looked like he was at least observing this guy. He knew all about this guy. He was a childhood friend. He hung out with him, whatever. When he finds this guy, he knows everything about him. And he picks him up, and he starts walking with him. And what does he do? As he's walking, he's playing into the guy. He knows the guy's dead. The moment he got to his friend there, he lifts up the stuff. The guy smells of rotting tissue. The guy's stomach has been cut out, and he's starting to rot. He knows this dude's dead. He lifts him up, starts walking. What is he doing? He's trying to ease the guy's mind. We have somebody here that is able to use the goddess's magic, able to heal. They'll heal you right up. You're going to open up your shop again. And yes, saying that everybody's okay. We know full well at this point, this is like one of the last survivors, very briefly. This entire village is gone. So he's trying to really kind of soothe this guy's mind as he's passing away. You don't do that for somebody if you're heartless. You don't do that for somebody if you lack empathy. You do that when you want to help somebody. You want to give them a peace of mind as they pass away. So Gano, despite the fact that he, has lost a lot of his humanity, or he believes that he lost a lot of his humanity, pursuing to becoming a first-class mage, or at least the art itself, he could feel that he's lost a lot of that, and again, he feels that regret for it and is trying to warn Method about it. But I think there's still a lot in there that he's not acknowledging. I think he doesn't realize just how much he cares for people. But anyways, yes, eventually he does go find Method, comes in there. She's trying to help him, soothe him. It's like he's doing that for the guy that's on his back. And the moment he arrives there, Method's trying to do the same for him. Method knows that this is his hometown, is trying to, put him over here. I'll treat him. You don't have to say that. I know he's dead. You don't have to say that. You don't have to comfort me in any way. I'm perfectly fine here. Even Method's trying to help him out. And again, it kind of feels like she's acknowledging right here that something's going on with him, that he's not right now. He's feeling off. He feels a little bit affected by this. I kind of wonder if they were, joined together and, traveled together to this location, and maybe that little brief shot that we got later on of him saying, don't end up like me, is something that was said during their trip. And at this point, Method's starting to see that Gano is being affected by all this. Knows this is not something that normally people should experience. They shouldn't be going to their hometown and seeing that their entire village is slaughtered. That this has got to be affecting him in some way. I'm kind of more annoyed by the fact that Saturday sent him over here, but they could have not known exactly what they were going to be facing up against. Saturday could have possibly not known that it was this particular village that was going to be harmed if they, came across. But either way, it does imply that she is noticing something in Gano and sees that this is impacting him, wanting him to take a rest, go get some rest or something like that. But again, we get another sign right here. As he arrives here with the guy and puts him down, and they start talking for a little bit. She's like, hey, you should get some rest. He's like, why would I do that? And at this point, they get a signal that there's somebody there. Frieren, Frieren, and Stark. I was like, yeah, they were like, I mentioned at some point, it's a warrior and two mages. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely them. Frieren come busting in there, doing like the cartwheel in the air and going to shoot and everything like that. And he's getting ready to attack. I'm like, damn, something about to go down. But after they all stop, Frieren says, you had so much bloodlust in your magic, I mistaken you for a demon. Again, I think this guy is just like hiding the fact that he's upset. Like, he's absolutely infuriated right now. He's looking for a target. And I think it's going to show when they find this thing. This four-armed demon that they're looking for. I think when they find that individual, I think he's going to snap. Gano's going to finally show that he hates this. He's very upset about this. Now, granted, and I forgot to get into this, granted, there's more than just that one. During the course of the remainder of the episode, we do have Method, and she's using her autopsy ability, or they're using autopsy spells in general, and Method herself is trying to come to a conclusion about what their composition is of what attacked this place, based on the, injuries and the blade cuts and all that kind of stuff. Stark, joining in there as well, again, bumping butts. Bumping butts. They're trying to figure out exactly what they're looking for, where it's going to be located. They have a sense that, it's probably outside of their ability to detect, so they're going to have to look at some other locations. But overall, it comes to a conclusion that they have, what they find, one individual specifically that did most of the damage. And this was a demon that seemingly has 4 arms, based on the attack patterns and everything. Now, we got more visual from the perspective of the viewer, what exactly happened there, and it looks like more like 3, specifically 3 demons of note. One was a giant white lizard, like an albino lizard demon thing that's like cutting people up. You had what looked like some sort of humanoid looking one that was smaller that had the ability to shoot a spell or at least throw their sword. Something was thrown and it impaled somebody. And then finally, of course, the last one, which is I'm assuming the one they come to conclusion on, the 4-armed demon, which kind of, rises up from the flames at some point. And again, based on the image at the very end, I'm wondering if Gano knows them, or at least has experienced seeing this demon before, because it seems to give us a perspective there, and I'm kind of wondering if it's in his mind. But like some sort of Lamia-looking 4-armed demon thing, which, yeah, looks very powerful. Yeah, it looks very powerful. Now, the other observation they gave, and this was like when they were in the church, is the fact that the captain that was with the guard that was in the area from the Merchant Guild, the captain specifically that has been there for a while is stronger than Stark. Considerably stronger than Stark. I like how Stark is all humble over there going, that's not very a hard bar to kind of pass there. Stark, dude, my boy, you're powerful. You literally one-shot a dragon. You one-shot a giant dragon. You didn't even need help from Frieren or Fern. You one-shot a dragon. You called out and said, it's time, go attack Frieren. And she's like, Stark, you got it. You're good. Stark, you're strong. Don't downplay yourself. But that said, with how strong Stark is, this guy was stronger, and that thing took it out. But again, acknowledging that if that first shot of the episode was this town, you have 3 individuals to look at, not just one. But either way, very, very interesting stuff there. But yeah, despite the fact that the episode was kind of heavy, I do like the little kind of break moments here and there. the very hard bread. Fern over there just nibbling out like a little gerbil, and Method's like, oh. She likes little cute things. She just like geeking out about Fern over there being a little gerbil. And then later on, again, talking about how Sere has sent her over here and that, yes, she agreed to become one of her students. Fern's over there like, I declined her. Fern's like, good girl. Meta's over here like, yeah, I totally accepted it because I would do anything for Sere. Yeah, she asked me to do this. I would do anything. I'm just wanting to help her more because she's so small and cute and I love her to death. But I like you too, Frieren. Thank you. There's just some dorky little moments between all of them. But yeah, I think the more interesting parts of this later half is really around, again, Gano and him just kind of absorbing what's kind of going on around him. Stark at some point offering to help him bury the dead. He rebuilds the barrier for the church, acknowledging the fact that the dead are still in there. And he's like, why don't you just bury them? We don't do that around here. And that makes perfect sense. If they don't bury them far enough underground, they do it incorrectly. The water levels themselves can all impact sort of how the burial happens. So many variables that come into play that, yes, come to the conclusion that you don't bury the dead around here. You bring them to another location where they can keep it away from the people because, yes, if the monsters find it, they're going to dig it up and it's not a good sight. It's just not pretty at all. But now, more interesting was the comments that were made about specifically cremation, because that was my initial thought. Like, I thought they were just going to burn down the church, which I guess that would be very bad as well. But I thought they were going to burn the bodies. Just that conclusion itself. And this seems like something they've actively chosen not to do. The Norn company insisted that they cremate the people, which makes sense to him. But the clergy voiced their opposition, and he understands how they feel. Painfully so. I wonder what that means. Gano's saying basically, yeah, I can see why they chose not to do that. As he says, inhumane to suggest to burn people who've already suffered painful deaths. These individuals that are in this church are covered with scars. Again, their stomachs are cut open. They bled out. They suffered a lot during this time. These demons killed them and left them to just suffer and then eventually bleed out. They've already suffered enough. Why would you burn their bodies? Now, yes, the answer there for a lot of people and their beliefs is that they're already passed away. They're not there. Their body is just remaining behind, whatever. Just burn the body. Get rid of it. But again, in this perspective here, their thought process here, the clergy's thought process here is that you just don't do that. It's inhumane. They've already suffered enough. So I'm assuming Gano here is just putting up a barrier and just waiting for, I'm guessing, the Norn company to come by, pick up the bodies, and take them to a common grave where they can, place them there. It's interesting. Also, a little interesting lore to kind of find out that, yes, the nobles obviously have a little bit more privileges here. They'll just erect barriers around the places they bury them so they can have their little burials. Fortresses have some locations where you can bury people. It's some interesting little lore to kind of add to things. Now, that reminds me, there was a conversation about the corpses early on in the episode that I'm kind of curious the direction they're going to go with this. Specifically, Stark, goes over there to pray in front of, Gano, and Gano kind of questions it. He says, is it a problem? No, that's perfectly fine. Stark questions, if they consume the corpses, why are these bodies here? I don't know. I don't even know why they, kill when they're, already full. Gano's like, there's a lot of oddities about these demons. They don't make sense. And again, that goes back to, I think, the aspect that they are, again, supposed to be monsters. They are monsters that speak and they trick people into believing they're, sentient and smart and just like humans. But they're just barking. They're just lying in order to make people drop their guard. It doesn't make sense. And this part doesn't make sense either. If they consume humans, why do they just go around killing the humans but never actually consuming them? They typically do, and it does seem like there was some demons that were there that were probably consuming some of them. But in the end, this is odd. Why is this the case? And Stark points out, it happened in my village too. They left the bodies behind. They didn't consume them all, but it doesn't make any sense. That's the oddity there. I'm curious if they're purposely saying this for a reason, and that potentially whatever demons involved with this village and the other villages where bodies were left behind, if they'll be tied in with Stark's village, if they'll be tied into situations like this specifically, because whatever demon is involved with this gets some sort of kicks out of this. They potentially, pride themselves in just nothing but that. That this is a monster that likes to play with its food, likes to just leave it there. It doesn't like to eat, something like that. I don't know. It seems like it's implying something here specifically to involve the idea of leaving bodies behind, despite that being completely counter to what they know about demons. It seems odd. Anyways, that is my thoughts on episode 34 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. A really solid episode. Again, very heavy episode. I'm looking forward to seeing more about Gano. Maybe get some more insights into Method, more shenanigans from her as well. But either way, I'm locked in. I think this is supposed to be like the remainder of the season will be this little story arc based on them releasing a key art and stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. Until next time, y'all take care.